Welcome to episode 107 of the Below the O-Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Papon. Type me. I have Justin Bear.
Yep.
No word on Daniel Ford. He was at a car show having a blast the other day. So check out his vlog on Low Boost Danny or Danny and Jarrett, if that's his new YouTube channel name. You know where to find it. Well, I don't know what to say. We might be in for a long one tonight. This past weekend, we had a lot of interesting action, whether it's NASCAR or the IndyCar race at Barber Motorsports Park to kick off the new season. We got a first-time winner. We have a world championship going more than just the first three races, possibly 1 point in between the top two drivers after Imola. Sports car racing at its peak. 3 seasons just started in the last 2 days. Supercars finally has turned another direction. Finally in 2021, now that we have new winners in victory. But let's get started, as we always do, with NASCAR and the Cup Series second trip at a track in Virginia in a row, second short track race of the season, the 9th round of the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series, the Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway.
I was about
the state capital.
I was about to say, I thought you were going to say the Toyota Ford 400. I'm like, that does not make sense. Toyota Ford 400. That would be, the fans would be like, why is Ford involved with Toyota? No, that's not going to happen.
Oh, yes, Danny is here, by the way. We just mentioned him, so nice we can bring Danny in just before we get started with our NASCAR discussion. How are you doing, Danny?
I am doing very good, gentlemen. What's going on, guys?
Talk to our viewers about what you did over the weekend.
Okay, so I went to New Jersey with a friend of mine to Elite Tuner, which is a tuner event with imports and drag racing and all that good stuff. Unfortunately, they had the cops blocking off the entrance, and most of the drivers couldn't get in with their nice cars and all that, and we just had to go about the day. But other than that, I had a great time. I saw some nice cars, and it is what it is, but hopefully things will look up better to the near future and we can have more events like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a vlog coming out pretty soon, is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually should be premiering right now at 7.
And what is the name of your channel so that our viewers can watch it?
The new channel name is Low Boost Danny. So you could go and check that out.
All right, it's in the live chat if you guys want to check it out. There you go. Now let's move into NASCAR. You came in at a great time here, Danny, because we're just about to get started. We have a lot of racing to talk about over the weekend. We'll go ahead and debrief the 9th round of the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series. And once again, another different winner. And we almost thought another case of repeat winners, but hey, we know how they're driving, how the top drivers are doing right now. It doesn't require them to win a race, but it sure shows where they're at on the racetrack. But let's take a look at this case of being at the right place at the right time. Álex Bowman only led 10 laps in this race, and I believe he led the second least amount of laps in the event, other than the guys who led one lap.
Yeah, he did.
10 laps led. He started 24th. This is one of Álex Bowman's weakest tracks. I remember going on podcasts before coming to talk about Richmond, and you always saying this is not the race for Álex Bowman fans.
But
boy, had that changed.
Yeah, but remember, Álex Bowman finished 9th in the fall, which I thought that was a win. But do you want to know what Álex Bowman said in his interviews? He said he sucks at short tracks and he'd been driving them wrong. Instead of focusing on him, the crew decided to make sure the car was his, like a really good setup. He came from 24th and he even got a penalty. Remember, he got the uncontrolled tire penalty. He came from a penalty at one point. And getting a win at Richmond. Richmond is not an easy track. It's tough to win at Richmond. And it was a while since Hendrick won at Richmond. And Álex Bowman snapped that win streak at Richmond, which was the last time they won at Richmond. Was with
Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson was the last time a Hendrick car won at Richmond.
2008?
Yep.
Yeah, 2008.
I remember that race.
Yeah, and Álex Bowman broke that streak in the same number, 48 number, in 2021. Like, I didn't expect it at Richmond. I didn't expect it. But he said he had so much grip at the end. He's like, I've never had this much grip at Richmond. But with that grip, it helped him.
It sure did. And one thing I've noticed about Álex Bowman's performance is that he never really quit, even when it looked like he was in the back half of the top 10 and just outside those contending spots. It always seemed like Álex Bowman never really over pushed the car.
Yeah.
Ran consistent laps. I was watching his laps on the live timing during the race. Yeah. So I could really get a good picture of what could very well be possible if a caution came out in the last 10 laps. It happened. That last caution came out with less than 10 to go. Álex Bowman was in third. He was in a position to win. He had saved his tires while in the top 5 in that last stint.
Yeah.
And ultimately took victory. He earned that win.
Oh.
That's Álex Bowman's third career win. He's still looking for a multi-win season that hasn't happened yet. His first win was Chicagoland 2019 and Fontana last year. Yep. Now he wins Richmond this year. No. First win on a short track. He won his first win on a big super speedway last year and his first win on an intermediate speedway 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's talk about – go ahead, Justin.
I was saying about Álex Bowman that people had been saying – every time he wins at a track, the track dies. Like Chicago.
Next year.
No, like Chicagoland, remember? That's gone off the calendar after he won. He won at Auto Club, and that's going to be a short track. And then people are like, oh, no, Richmond's next. I'm like, that's not going to happen. It's just Álex Bowman.
A pattern.
Yeah, but Álex Bowman, he had a good car. Greg Ice brought a good car to start 24th at Richmond. I'm like, that's not going to be a good sign, him starting 24th, but he did do something.
That says a lot about Hendrick Motorsports and their performance this year.
Oh.
And before we go down the results, I want to highlight the fact that 3 of the 4 Hendrick Motorsports cars in the before the 10th race of the season have gone to victory lane.
But I'm shocked.
William Byron,
Kyle Larson,
and
Álex
Bowman. But who's missing? Chase Elliott. And Chase Elliott
I'm shocked.
Is in this situation right now where the reigning champion hasn't gone to victory lane yet. Some of his best tracks have already come and gone. He nearly won the Daytona 500. Really should have won on the road course of Daytona had the caution just not lined up against him.
But
and then Phoenix rolls around. He just didn't seem to have the race that he had last year.
Yeah.
And now we're going to Talladega.
He won
Chase Elliott won 2 years ago at Talladega.
But the thing is, Talladega's unpredictable.
Very. So can anybody else.
Like Talladega, you could have a back marker win, like you could have Cora LaJoy win. That's how Talladega is.
Right, and there's a lot of people going to be selfish out there for many different reasons, but we're going to talk about Talladega a little bit later. I'm just talking about Chase Elliott right now. In the first 9 races of the season, has Chase Elliott done anything wrong so far? He is 7th in the championship.
Yeah.
But then again, you win and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The more of winners is going up, and it's just never going to slow down. And we're still very early in the season.
Yeah, like, remember, if you're in the top 30 in points and you have a win, like Michael McDowell's in the top 30 in points, he's going to be in the playoffs. He just has to stay in the top 30. The thing is, we have 8 different winners so far. Only 8 winners. Álex Bowman's the 8th because Truex has 2 wins already. So 8 winners already after 9 races. That's a problem. Because
it sure is.
So Chase has to do something. He has to, they got to bring a good car, good setup. And also, it's also the strategy. You don't want to do a bad strategy call and lose the race. You know what?
Bad pit stop can ruin it.
Yeah, it's like the Coke. Remember the Coke? Remember the Coke 600 last year? Chase decided to pit. Brad stayed out. Yeah, most of the field stayed out when he pitted, and that's how he lost the Coke 600.
Let's go to the.
Well, he went back to win the 500K.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Let's go ahead and talk about the finishing order. We were discussing Álex Bowman and his team Hunter Motorsports, but let's take a look at second place driver Denny Hamlin, the points leader on stage 1, stage 2, led the most laps. 207 laps were led by Denny Hamlin in this race. Hamlin started second. He fell shy in the restart. What went wrong for Denny Hamlin on that final restart?
One thing that he did that I noticed was he washed up pretty badly. Off turn 2, he went up high. He washed up in turn 1. That opened the bottom for the 48 and Álex Bowman. The thing is, the outside gets to run off the corners, but you need to be on the bottom in the corner, or you're gonna get passed.
Or you mean for 3 and 4?
Yeah, every corner you have to enter low. You can't enter high, or you're gonna lose spots. So Denny missed the bottom that made him wash up the track, and Álex Bowman had enough grip to get underneath him and clear him off the corner.
All right, so that's Denny Hamlin. Now, third place car, another driver that really was close to winning this event was Joey Logano. Now, Logano had the cautions line up against him. Led 49 laps in this race. He started 5th, and Logano really showing that consistency that we see out of the driver from the 22 car Team Penske. Just on a consistent level here.
Yep.
4th place, Christopher Bell. Another solid run. Bell started in the 8th spot. Now, Martin Truex Jr., let's talk about MTJ here. He started on the pole with the metric qualifying system.
Yep.
Martin Truex Jr. led 107 laps. Surprisingly, didn't win in any of the stages, but finished 5th. What happened to Martin Truex Jr. in the final 200 laps of this race?
His car, kind of fell off. His car fell off. The his pit stops were not that good. He had slow pit stops yesterday. The crew made mistakes. He also had a penalty. I remember he had a penalty, and Martin was not happy on the radio.
Yes, I do remember that. He had to go all the way to the back.
Yeah, so penalty, pit crew having mistakes, and the car not handling well at the end. Yeah, that really hurt it. That really hurt Martin Truex Jr. and the 19 crew.
6th place, probably a win in Eric Almirola's eyes, and so is the team. Eric Almirola having one of the worst starts to the season in his time with Stewart-Haas Racing. Eric started 22nd, and he brought his Stewart-Haas Racing Ford Mustang to the 6th spot. Now, Stewart-Haas Racing seems to be the second best Ford factory program in 2021. Second, of course, Team Penske, and possibly they're going to mark Talladega on the schedule for sure next week, because if you think about Eric Almirola and Kevin Harvick are both winners from Talladega in the past. They know how to get the job done, and the team could use the morale boost. A 6th place finish by that 10 car is not a bad deal at all. 7th place, William Byron started 4th, brought it home 7th. Kyle Busch had an eventful day. He finished 8th after leading 1 lap and starting 10th. Now, Kyle Busch, like Martin Truex Jr., had a penalty in the race, and it nearly cost him big. Late in the race, Kyle Busch received a speeding penalty during green flag pit stops, had to serve a drive-through penalty, and all of a sudden his car starts running well again, gets the free pass, and brings it home 8th.
Wow. Talk about bouncing back.
Yeah.
The real question is, where would Kyle finish had he not been in this position with the penalties?
He'd probably be somewhere in the. My guess is he probably would have been somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah.
9th place, another well-earned top 10 after a struggling start. Matt DiBenedetto for the Wood brothers.
That's good.
He started 16th and brought home 9th. Had a very solid run, and so did Austin Dillon, who led 1 lap and started 11th, brought his car home to the top 10. Outside the top 10 in the 14th spot, Brad Keselowski, who led 25 laps, started 20th and brought his Ford to the 14th finishing position. In total, there were only 14 cars on the lead lap. It shows you how tough this race really was in the end.
Yeah.
It's all about hitting your marks, preventing mistakes, saving your equipment, saving your tires, conserving fuel, and keeping the car clean. Richmond is tougher than a lot of people expect.
Yeah.
And especially now that Richmond has 2 races once again for the first time since 2019. A lot of teams are going to be keeping tabs on this event going into the fall race when it counts even more towards the championship.
Yeah.
So after 9 races, the championship standings, Denny Hamlin is still in the points lead. He has an 81-point lead over teammate Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. is second. Now in third place, 82 points behind, is Joey Logano. So we have champions in second and third, a driver who's so close to winning a title, Denny Hamlin first, doing what he needs to do. How about William Byron putting up solid runs, minus 124 from the championship lead.
Okay.
Fourth place. Ryan Blaney, fifth place, minus 130. Kyle Larson with 299 points is sixth. Chase Elliott, seventh. Kevin Harvick in eighth place.
Oh.
Orlowski minus 165 in ninth place. And Christopher Bell is 10th with 257 points. So they'll be back next week in Talladega for the third 500-mile race of the season.
Wow. Richmond was so interesting. Kyle Larson, he started P6. He finished 18th. My pick, Kyle Larson, finished 2 laps down in 18th. I'm so shocked that he finished that far back. And do you want to know what's impressive? Richmond only had one DNF. Justin Haley DNF'd on the first lap. Engine issues.
He'll be back, though, with the team at Talladega this weekend.
But
hopefully for redemption.
But Josh Bilicki was the lowest finisher. 37th place. He was 17. He was lapped 17 times. That proves some of the Rick Ware cars are not fast. So they don't have speed at short tracks. They can barely keep up at Talladega, but Richmond was interesting. We didn't have. It was not like a caution fest like the truck race.
That's where we're going to now.
Ooh, I did hear about the truck race.
It was an interesting yet long race, longer than it should have been. I mean, it certainly didn't feel like a 250-mile race, which it was. Round 6 of this 22 race season saw some interesting moments. But in the end, who won this race? John Hunter Nemechek won. Yes, Kyle Busch for second, but experience won the race. John Hunter Nemechek won stage 2, led 114 laps, started in the 18th spot, picked up his 8th career win, second win of the season. Now, what got John Hunter Nemechek the win besides domination? The restarts.
But also he had better tires than his other teammate, Chandler Smith, who ended up getting 4th. He had good tires, too, which really helped him. Fresh tires helped him at the end to get by the trucks that had older tires, because Richmond, your tires do matter. I know it's not Martinsville, but tires do matter at short tracks.
It really doesn't matter. You think about how much pressure you put on the brakes going in the turns.
Yeah, it's easy to lock up in the corners.
It's easy to wear out your tires faster here. It's just based off your pace. And that's where it counts. And that's why John Hunter Nemechek took the win. There were 11 cautions in this race. And that's where the restarts came into play. It seemed like John Hunter Nemechek always hit the marks at the right time, as did Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch finished second, started 12th, led 26 laps, second behind his teammate. Kyle Busch was another case of experience on the restart. Tyler Ankrum, very, very important third-place finish for Tyler Ankrum, who had a terrible start to the season. Third place for the GMS driver. Fourth place, Chandler Smith, who was pretty good and was running up front towards most of the event.
But he was leading until he got past because, his tires were
too old.
If he had the same lap tires, he had a good truck.
Absolutely.
Like he's gonna win a race this season. He's been showing his speed and he has a good crew chief with Danny Stockman Jr., which that 18 truck had speed. If they could win other races, I know there's some tracks that he's marking on his calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. Chandler Smith would lead 24 laps, started 23rd, so he really had to make it up towards the back half of the field.
Yeah.
How about this driver? Fifth place, Johnny Sauter. Now, Johnny Sauter wasn't a factor in the championship last year, but a veteran like him really banked off a track that he's raced in for over 2 decades. And he's a great short track racer, too. If you think about Johnny Sauter's record in history at the short tracks, that's where he came from. Brought it to a 5th place finish. 6th place, Todd Gilliland. Now, Todd Gilliland started 8th, finished 6th. A solid run, indeed. 7th place, pole sitter Ben Rhodes led 4 laps and brought it home to the top 10. 8th place, Grant Enfinger. Grant Enfinger had a great truck. Last year's winner, in fact. Grant won stage 1. Led 70 laps, started 3rd, finished in the 8th spot. Maybe you should reconsider running just a part-time schedule at this rate. Sam Mayer, how about this? Sam Mayer for Brett Holmes Racing.
Yep.
Brett Holmes Racing, their best finish as a team yet. 9th place for Mayer. He started dead last.
He started 40th. He gained 31 spots. That's really impressive and good. That's good momentum. I know that.
It's a solid performance.
Yeah, but I know that Brett Holmes will run ARCA at Talladega most likely because that entry list not out, but that gives momentum. Like, that helps with the team and momentum. With really good run for Sam Mayer in the 32 truck.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Mayer did exactly what he needed to do to bring home the top 10 and some fairly new stock car racing equipment there. In the top 10, Austin Hill started 2nd. In the top 10 now. Outside the top 10, we had Matt Crafton. Matt Crafton led 11 laps and started 7th. And looking down at 34th place was Howie DiSilvino III, driving for Jordan Anderson, made his NASCAR Truck Series debut, finished 1 position higher than his starting spot. Yeah. So with that out of the way, the point standings after 6 races. Now, mind you, this is the only race held in April for the Truck Series, so these guys have a lot of rest.
Well, till May 1st
and afterwards.
Yeah. The next race is May 1st at Kansas.
Right. John Hunter Nemechek pulls away with that points lead, doing everything he needs to do. Now it's a 20-point gap because he lost a lot of points in the Bristol Dirt race. Brandon Rhodes still 20 points behind in 2nd. Sheldon Creed, the defending champion, is 3rd, minus 54. 4th place, Austin Hill, minus 74. Matt Crafton, the 3-time champion, is 5th, minus 80. Stuart Friesen holding his own in 6th, minus 87. Grant Enfinger is 7th, minus 91. Zane Smith in 8th, minus 105. 1 point behind, minus 106, is Todd Gilliland. And Johnny Sauter has cracked the top 10 for the first time this year, minus 129 in the points. So the Truck Series race is over. These guys have another rest again. This was the first short track race of the calendar. Kansas Speedway, like you mentioned, round 7 is on May 1st.
Yep.
So I think these guys are going to really take a lot of notes and watch the replays from Vegas a little bit more going into this event.
Yeah, and also just to say to the fans that no, the Bushy McBush race is not sponsoring the truck race.
No, that's the Cup race.
but it's going to be interesting. But guess who's back in the truck in that race? Kyle Busch back in the 51 for his 4th race. Because Kyle Busch's last start in that truck is at Pocono, all the way in June. So, yeah, Kyle's running again at Kansas. So it's going to be interesting, that race. But there's on and off week this weekend again.
Yeah. I think the fans definitely got a treat if they were at the race on Saturday. A lot of action went on there.
But the cautions.
The cautions, though, killed the pace, the momentum, and just the excitement of the green flag racing.
It went good until the Tate Fogelman, Haley Deegan accident, and Jennifer Jo Cobb. So, like...
The rivalry of the back markers.
Yeah, Jennifer Jo Cobb, Norm Benning. Like, you never expected that to be...
And then the cautions just kept stepping. But in the end, it was John Hunter Nemechek taking the win, and he definitely earned that one.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. You guys ready for some F1?
Yep.
Ooh, bring it.
Let's talk about what we saw at Imola. yesterday morning, technically, for round 2 of the 2021 FIA Formula One World Championship, and it was sure not a disappointment at all. The Pirelli Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari at Imola, Italy, in the San Marino region. I think I said it right for the first time. Yes. Yeah. Second race of the World Championship, and what do I have to say about this? And I mean, I'm still trying to put the words together on everything that happened in the Grand Prix yesterday, but don't be surprised at all if the finishing order stays like this going on.
Yeah, but you said the finishing order stays like this, but it wasn't, well, like you say like that, but Valtteri both.
It could have changed. It really might have gone the other way.
Oh, well, if it was dry, it would have probably been less chaotic than raining. Yes,
we had a wet start, which definitely put a lot of drivers to the test.
Oh, yeah, like Nicholas Latifi, who didn't last long.
Nope. In the end, Max Verstappen took the win. The Red Bull driver led 61 of the 63 laps, started third, picked up his 11th career win, his 40th career podium, and is now 1 point behind Sir Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, while he finished second, he almost retired from this race.
Yeah.
I got China 2007 vibes from that.
Well, Lewis did overcome things in that race to get second, which was impressive. To come from 9th place to second at one point, that's impressive.
Absolutely. Lewis Hamilton did lead 2 laps of the race.
Yep.
He started on pole, picked up his 99th career pole, so
one away from 100.
One away from 100, which has never been set yet, but it looks very likely now. Lewis Hamilton also picked up his 167th career podium in this race, and what a save that was from a near nightmare for Lewis Hamilton. He could have very well lost the World Championship lead.
Yeah, and that would have been devastating.
Yeah, but that was impressive. Like Lewis Hamilton. Like, people say, he's always been the best car, but he has talent.
Oh, when he's put to the test.
Yeah, like, there were some races that are so treacherous. I remember some of the races last year that was in the rain. Lewis just performed.
He's so good in the rain.
Yeah, he's good in the rain.
Good.
Like, he's good in the rain. He's good in the dry. Like, there's some drivers that are so good in the dry. Like, remember last year, Joseph, how Lance Stroll is good in the wet, but Perez isn't? So, like, anytime it rained in qualifying, Stroll was faster than Perez. Like, stuff like that. Like, Lewis is good in the rain and dry. He's good in both conditions of tracks.
And rounding out the podium, Lando Norris. How about Lando Norris? And boy, I wish the qualifying lap he had counted, but it still was great. Yeah. Lando started 7th, picked up his 2nd career podium, and once again, a career best finish at 3rd.
Yeah.
Lando is just really becoming that star driver that McLaren has been looking for years, that could put up these numbers and hopefully bring that long dry spell to a resounding close. It was close. Like, think about how Lando, if its qualifying time counted, where he would have started 2nd had he respected the track limits, or if the FIA just said, "Oh, yeah, you're good, that lap stays," and then he possibly had a better start to the race and pulled away from everyone else. Because guys don't realize how important lap 1 is.
Yeah,
how long the race is. Lap 1 really does determine where you're going to be for the rest of the race.
Yeah,
yeah.
And just for the record, Ian Perez, 48. Ian Perez, our local friend, he's definitely a happy man that Lando gets a podium because he is going for McLaren all the way, both McLaren drivers. So he's definitely a happy man.
Yep.
Absolutely, very impressive run for Lando Norris. Let's look outside the podium here. Very impressive run for both Ferraris.
What were you
Charles Leclerc. I don't know why I'm going between Lance Stroll and Lando Norris here. Charles Leclerc.
Lance Stroll and Ferrari.
Stop. Lando
Right? I was about to say.
Charles Leclerc finished
Leclerc.
fourth.
And then,
Carlos Sainz finished fifth.
yeah.
No, Leclerc started fourth. Sainz started 11th, outside of a points-paying position. Double points for Ferrari. We haven't said that much last year.
Well, Joseph.
And it looks like the Ferraris are improved.
Yeah. Compared to Ferrari, it felt like Ferrari's car, instead of being a car, it felt like a toaster. Not like a little toaster, but like the car just felt so bad. Remember, they lost 2 seconds of pace from 2019 to 2020. It was so embarrassing sometimes, them getting passed by like the Alfa Romeos, which is a little bit bad when you're getting passed by an Alfa Romeo who's supposed to be slower than you.
And running the same engine plant, power unit.
And Ferrari's strategy was bad last year.
It seemed like the two Ferraris did exactly what they needed to do to stay afloat in the World Constructors' Championship, and for both drivers to get the points that they need for the remaining 21 races. Sixth place, Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo started sixth. That means McLaren picked up double points in this race. Very well needed for the McLaren constructor, where they want to compete for this Constructors' Championship. They sit third as we speak. We'll talk more about the World Constructors' Championship later, but very impressive run for the Australian driver. Seventh place, Pierre Gasly. Gasly started fifth and had a very well-run race. Finished seventh. Eighth place, Lance Stroll. Now, Stroll started 10th. How about ninth and 10th for the Alpine Renaults of Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso?
Yep.
Ocon started 9th. Alonso started 15th. Double points for Alpine.
Yep.
Outside the points finishers, Sergio Perez, who picked up his best career start of second, first ever front row start in a Grand Prix for Checo. He finished 11th outside the points after a misfortune in the race.
Yeah, also, the rain is not his suit. He's just not good in the rain. It's proved, Perez is slower in the rain than his usual teammates. Remember last year at what was the other race in Austria?
The Styrian
Grand Prix.
Yeah, remember that qualifying session where Stroll was up front? Perez was 18th in Q1.
He started 18th?
Yeah. At that race, because Perez also struggles in the rain compared to he just struggles with the rain for some reason.
12th place, Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda started 20th, finished 12th.
Yep.
13th, Kimi Räikkönen started 16th. His teammate finished 14th. Antonio Giovinazzi started 17th at his home race, finished 14th. 15th place, Sebastian Vettel. Now, classified in the finishing order even though he didn't finish the race because of the 90% rule. He completed more than 90% of the distance. So, therefore, Vettel is classified as the finishing order. Lap 61 with a gearbox failure. 16th and 17th were the Haas machines. Mick Schumacher, 16th, started 18th. And Nikita Mazepin, his career best of 17th after starting 19th. And then the retirements. So 18th and 19th are the first two retirements. Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes and Williams, George Russell were both involved in a crash on lap 30 that actually brought out the red flag in the Grand Prix. George Russell had some choice words about Bottas' driving prior to the accident, and we have to explain. Let's just mention before we go into this, Nicholas Latifi crashed out in the opening lap, retired, started 14. But the fact of the matter is that George Russell is under the Mercedes contract. He's one of their reserve drivers and is under the Mercedes umbrella. Valtteri Bottas is in the factory Mercedes, and we don't know where he's going to be in the next few years. We already know how George Russell can perform in Mercedes AMG F1 equipment here after last year's secure Grand Prix when he had a substitute for the COVID sidelined Lewis Hamilton. But Russell nearly won that race and picked up his first points.
Yeah. But the thing about Valtteri, people don't realize that he has 1 year on his Mercedes contract left. But there's possible chances that Russell replaces Valtteri. People are like, no, he'll replace Lewis. But the thing is, I say that Lewis is performing good. Why would Mercedes get rid of someone that's performing? The thing is, Valtteri performs,
Besides, Lewis is not going anywhere anytime soon.
No,
I think the decision amongst Lewis Hamilton's path in the future will be in the hands of Lewis Hamilton himself.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
I don't think I could say the same about Valtteri Bottas here.
The thing is, the last time that Lewis has had a fight with a teammate at his own team was Nico Rosberg in
2016.
And Nico won the war.
Yeah, and every other year, Valtteri just can't battle with Lewis. Lewis is Lewis is just miles ahead of Valtteri, and it's just remember, George Russell was at Sakir. It was his first time running a full weekend for Mercedes.
Outperformed his teammate in every session except for qualifying and possibly in the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and he almost, if he didn't have that puncture, he had, he could have won
that race.
He was closing on Perez. If he didn't have the puncture, that's the thing. A thing about the team, it's the thing with George.
I don't want to talk about as much of the racing deal as the possible political scale here.
But
the fact that we have two Mercedes drivers that might be fighting for the same spot in the future.
Yeah,
tangle up and are involved in dispute. And I hear Toto Wolff, I
heard
Mercedes
about
got involved, which
Yeah.
tells me that this might have a magnitude of effects here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Could this be the turning point for the decision amongst drivers next year and Formula One's highest quality team? Or am I just talking a bunch of crap here and not knowing where to carry on from this? Because there are only 2 races complete and we still have a long way to go in 2021.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. I'm just going to leave it at that. George Russell so close once again from getting points in a Williams car and falls short. And boy, it was supposed to happen here last year. Remember?
Oh, yeah. And he made the mistake on the safety car.
Exactly. Well, 2 races completed.
You forgot last place.
Yes, last place was, as I mentioned earlier, Nicholas Latifi on the opening lap.
Well, there was a reason how.
What happened?
He made a mistake, went off the track, but when you return to the circuit, remember what Vettel did? He almost put Hamilton in the wall. This time he came up, from the grass and ended up getting punted by Nikita Mazepin's Haas. But people Mazepin sucks and all that. Do you know what happened under that safety car?
What?
Mick Schumacher binned it at the pit exit. He tried to warm the tires up. Remember when Grosjean did that at Baku? He basically pulled the Grosjean.
Exactly.
It's right as I saw him, oh my God. And I'm that's Schumacher, not Mazepin. I'm oh my gosh, Haas.
You just got to feel for these American F1 fans. This is what we're getting. All right, let's talk about the World Drivers' Championship. 2 races down in this 23-race Formula One World Championship. Lewis Hamilton is 1 point ahead of Max Verstappen, all because he got the fastest lap, which gives you an extra bonus point if you finish in a points-paying position.
It's close.
So it's a 1 point advantage for Lewis Hamilton over Max Verstappen.
Oh.
Verstappen's got 43 points. Lando Norris sits in 3rd with 27 World Drivers' Championship points. Charles Leclerc is 4th with 20 points. And Valtteri Bottas 5th with 16 points because he didn't earn any after the retirement.
No.
Carlos Sainz Jr. and Danny Ricciardo tied for 6th and 7th with 14 points each. Sergio Perez with 10 points in the 8th position. Pierre Gasly with 6 points in 9th and with 5 points in 10th is Lance Stroll.
Okay.
I mean, hey, look at the amount of drivers that gained points. All except 5 drivers gained championship points within 2 races. That says a lot about this year.
Oh, yeah. Vettel, both Haas cars and both Williams are the 5. Yeah, Vettel. I don't know what's going on with Vettel. People are like, oh, he's left Ferrari.
I think he's just had misfortune. None of that was in Vettel's fault.
Well, there's some races where kind of like the first race
he should have pitted way early. I don't know what he was doing.
But not just that. He turned. He collided with Ocon.
Ocon.
And then here issues with the car. It's like what? Vettel just wants to have a good race at Portimao, race 3. He just wants a good run there.
Well, we only had one race there. That's the next race, which will be held on
May 2nd.
May 2nd for round 3.
So we got a week off again in F1.
All right, so let's talk about the World Constructors Championship. We talked about the World Drivers Championship here, but the World Constructors Championship, this says a lot. All except 3 constructors have scored points in 2 races. Shows you the competition level has increased within the last year. Mercedes, 60 points after 2 races. They lead the World Constructors Championship, looking for their 8th consecutive championship.
Yep.
Red Bull Racing Honda with 53 World Constructor Championship points. McLaren Mercedes with 41 points hold steadily in 3rd. Ferrari, after 2 double points races, sit 4th with 34 points. And then the big drop all the way down to 5th. AlphaTauri Honda with 8 points so far. 3 points ahead of Aston Martin Racing Mercedes with 5 points. Alpine Renault with 3 points so far. And then the 3 teams with no points in order from highest to lowest non-points finishing positions. Alfa Romeo Racing Ferrari, Williams Mercedes, and Haas Ferrari.
I knew Haas was going to be last at one point. I knew Haas was going to be last in the constructors.
You got 2 new drivers. You have just a terribly quick car and a lot of off-track shenanigans. You're going to have struggles here.
Yeah, and it's kind of bad when one of the, like Mick Schumacher saying his F2 car is faster than the Haas car, which it shouldn't be. Usually,
that says a lot.
If your F1 car is slower than an F2 car, check your car first before.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the representation of America in Formula One for now. Speaking of American Formula One, I'm very glad to say that yesterday during the pre-race show, the FIA and Formula One have announced the confirmation of the Miami Grand Prix for 2022. You can see the grin on my face, tells the story. I'm super excited. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I want to be there, and I think you should too. This is another opportunity for American Formula One.
Yeah.
But
will Haas have a good lineup and a good car?
And maybe an American driver or two?
Well, I don't know. You're talking about you have Gunther Steiner and other people on it. We'll see.
Get a grip, Gene. All right. Let's get back to the scoop here. So it was announced that the Miami Grand Prix is confirmed starting 2022. There is a possible 10-year deal going through. And the layout of the circuit is supposedly called Hard Rock Street Circuit because it surrounds the Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins NFL football team.
Oh, that team.
Now, people have also asked, what about the U.S. Grand Prix? Will this be the new site of the U.S. Grand Prix? And the answer is no.
Nope, don't be too.
They'll still have the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, at Circuit of the Americas under contract. Now, here's the scoop. There have been multiple Grand Prix in one country. Of course, we've seen that with last year because of the pandemic, and even this year in some parts. But in the United States, we have seen different Grand Prix held in the United States other than the USGP. Examples include the U.S. Grand Prix West, the Long Beach Grand Prix, which then turned into what is now the currently IndyCar sanction.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Grand Prix. We had seen the streets of Las Vegas. We've seen Houston, Texas. We almost seen New York City a couple times.
Well, we had F1 at Dallas, which
Dallas, thanks for reminding.
That track was not good. Well, we had Caesar's Palace for Las Vegas, but that race was so bad.
IndyCar brought back the Las Vegas Grand Prix for a few years under Champ Car, and that didn't last long.
Yeah, the track, I guess, for the F1 Caesar Palace track was in a freaking parking lot, and most of the turns were left. I don't know why, and most drivers their necks started to hurt during the race.
Because the surface was just terrible.
It's like, well, compared to the Dallas race where that failed right away, the track was melting, and at the end, Nigel Mansell was trying to push his car, but ended up passing out because it was so hot and the temperatures were it was over 100 degrees.
I also forgot to mention that Watkins Glen used to be a hot spot destination for the U.S. Grand Prix.
Yeah.
There's a lot of requests from fans to see that race come back. The Indianapolis 500 was once part of the World Championship in the 1950s.
Oh yeah.
So F1 has had a lot of history in the United States. And of course, let's not forget the previous destination of the U.S. Grand Prix from 2000 to 2007, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's a sad story because what happened in Indy in 2000 was a hit success, just like the beginning of the Brickyard 400 in 1994 when Indy decided to open up to NASCAR having a race. It was an instant success, which, but like NASCAR, the race in Indy for F1 went downhill. In 2005, one of the most controversial races in the history of car racing, I'm using that term because it's not just Formula One we're talking about here, happened, and the race never recovered. The relationship between Formula One and American fans have really been severed since, and they didn't renew the contract after 07.
Well, 6 cars wasn't that bad with Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, but do you know what's funny? The only 3 teams that were used in the Bridgestones were Ferrari, Jordan, and Minardi. And do you know who, of all people, got the podium? Tiago
Montero.
But do you know what's funny? Narain Karthikeyan almost got his only F1 podium, but he finished 4th. But just seeing that race, like one reason I know about that race was a video called "What the F Happened to Narain Karthikeyan." That's one video.
Josh Ravel.
Yep,
Josh.
I remember watching that. That U.S. Grand
Prix. Just say that I don't think F1 will ever recover from that.
Yeah, and
it's just so damaging for so many reasons. So after 2007, they didn't renew the contract to the U.S. Grand Prix, and it took until 2012, and it also required the building of a new facility to make this happen. The Circuit of the Americas is located in Austin, Texas.
That track is actually good.
It's an interesting track, another tilt design, but it has a lot of variance, like the virus.
Yeah, but it's not like. But the thing about Coda, it's not. It doesn't destroy tires like at not like Indy, where the tires just kept getting shredded, basically.
Exactly. Well, all right, going with this. Well. Formula One. Now let's continue to talk about Formula One schedule here, because we did learn this week that we are expected to hear a formal announcement of the cancellation of this year's Canadian Grand Prix held in Montreal, Quebec at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, one of my favorite circuits, just personally as a race fan, and one of the most popular venues for Formula One.
Yep.
Last year, the Canadian Grand Prix was taken off the schedule. And this year, which the race is scheduled for June 9th?
13th.
13th. Thanks for correcting me. Is reportedly removed. And we've heard multiple sources from a lot of verified news articles that this will be a canceled race for the second year in a row. And the possible replacement venue for this race, if F1 wants to keep a 23-race schedule, is the Istanbul Park Circuit in Turkey. Now, the Turkey Grand Prix was was brought back to life last year as a replacement venue from a lost date in the COVID-affected 2020 season. They were supposed to hold about 100,000 plus fans But then a few weeks before the race started, the local government disapproved, and the race was held behind closed doors. That tells me that we could see fans over there at Istanbul Park. Now, whether or not fans would be allowed at Montreal, one thing is for sure, and it kind of, as someone who likes to see patterns, something worries me about this. Formula One has not made a trip across the Atlantic Ocean since the pandemic started.
Yep.
Formula One has also not made a trip to Asia Pacific countries. In fact, they have only been in the Eurasia area or Middle East. They've never left those areas. And now we're going to have to see what they'll do during these situations later on, and that could be worrisome for the rest of the calendar. Even though the U.S. Grand Prix is more like in current mode, welcoming for a kind of event like F1 to happen right now, if it were to happen. The point I'm trying to make here is that whether or not fans would be allowed at the Canadian Grand Prix, the fact that travel is still very difficult to go into the country says to me that we're not going to see any racing this year unless they relocate the date. But I think we're a little bit too late in the year for that. This isn't a case of Australia.
Yeah, but the thing about Canada, which is kind of a problem over here, which some other places listen to the guidelines, except Ontario and Quebec, they don't care. Clearly. They keep getting like 6,000 to 7,000 cases a day, which is quite alarming. And they keep getting in the lockdown because the people there just don't care.
I would say more than just the people that are in the province. Probably the people. This isn't a politics show.
Well, for me here, where I live, we're actually kind of listening because like when I go to places, I wear my mask. I'm not like those like near my work, those every Sunday there's anti-maskers protesting. I'm like, oh my gosh. Just looking at them like, you guys are just in my head.
Give it up.
Just stop it. You're making the situation worse.
Where am I going with this? Oh yeah, Montreal's a closed circuit.
Yeah.
This isn't a case of a street race. Now we're gonna have to face those barriers later on in the year. You don't think that the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve could like host half capacity crowd? That's a ginormous venue.
Yeah.
And they're outdoors, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just about travel that could be an issue. Still have to quarantine over there. But what about the race preceding the Canadian Grand Prix? I'm very worried about the status of that event. Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku City circuit worries me a lot. Not just about the pandemic, not just the fact that they're in a street circuit in a pandemic, which we've seen that has not gone successful so far for the most part around the globe, but the fact that they have a lot of tension going on in that country.
Yeah.
And let's go back about 10 years ago, in Bahrain. The Bahrain Grand Prix had to be called off on week of due to civil unrest, protests of the Grand Prix even happening there. And in 2012, the same thing happened just like 2011, but instead, I don't want to say it like this, but the FIA really gave the people in Bahrain the middle finger and ran the Grand Prix anyways. And there's a little bit of a difference here when we're talking about a street circuit compared to a closed venue like the Bahrain International Circuit. A street circuit could be a little risky. And I don't want to say it like this, like we're on CNN or RT, but this is just a matter of what's the answer. Because the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is on June 6th. We're actually a month and a half away from June 6th. And that race is coming up pretty quick. Monaco is a different story. I think the Monaco Grand Prix is in a better position for many reasons. They already announced the layout of the Formula E circuit, which is a race held a few weeks prior to the Monaco Grand Prix. Thus far, we've seen pictures of the circuit getting ready in race mode way ahead of its time. for this year's Monaco Grand Prix. The region depends on F1 on that event. It's a tourist attraction. Monte Carlo needs F1 and F1 needs Monte Carlo. But what about some other races? I think that we should also keep a close eye on the British Grand Prix. Due to the nature of the country, I think we might have some difficulties there, as would possibly another event, which would be Singapore and Japan. But that's for later. We still have many months till then. But what we do know is that these closed circuits are going to get the better edge of the stick here.
Yeah.
Like the next race at Portimao, which I think is a great addition to the F1 calendar. I'll be round 3 of 23. So I think that marks the end of our Formula One discussion. Let's go ahead and move on to the other open wheel storyline, and that is the beginning of the brand new IndyCar season. American open wheel racing fans rejoice once again. This is the 110th running of the American Open Wheel Racing National Championship, aka the IndyCar Series, and it came to a start. The first race of the 17-round IndyCar Series began at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama, for the Honda Grand Prix of Alabama. And we got a first-time winner making his start for a team in his first go-around with Chip Ganassi Racing. That's Álex Palou. Now, let's talk about Álex Palou for a minute. We haven't said much about him, but he was a very impressive driver from last year in Dale Quinn Racing Equipment. His starts on the road courses have impressed me as a fan, just seeing what I saw and noting where Álex Palou drove in the past, whether it's Super Formula or Super GT. It seems like he's not afraid to test the waters in other racing disciplines. So, of course, you're going to get success right off the bat. And that's what Álex Palou just did. He led 56 laps, so he gets the bonus point for leading the 2 bonus points for leading the most laps.
Yeah.
Started third, picked up his first career win on a second. I almost threw on the remote. Second career podium.
Yep.
So, first time winner. And by the way, in case you guys haven't remembered, Álex Palou becomes the first driver since Oriol Servia in the 2005 Montreal Molson Indy Grand Prix to win a race from Spain, or Spanish driver to win a IndyCar race.
That's really good.
The future of American Open Wheel Racing is skyrocket.
Yeah.
Speaking of newcomers, let's talk about the veterans. 2 champions, second and third. Will Power led 4 laps in his Team Penske machine. Power started 4th, picked up his 82nd career podium. Scott Dixon finished 3rd after leading. He didn't lead any laps. Started 5th, finished 3rd, picked up his 123rd career podium. 4th place, Pato O'Ward picked up the fastest lap, led 25 laps from his pole position. Now, Pato O'Ward, Patricio O'Ward, picked up his 2nd career pole, and I picked him to win the race yesterday. But it seemed like there were some other drivers that were a little too dangerously quiet by the time the green flag on Sunday.
Well, your pick did better than mine.
What happened to your pick, Justin?
He crashed on the first lap on the straight. Joseph Newgarden. He ended up crashing on the back straightaway. I don't know. Just that big pile up, which I didn't expect that to happen.
No. 5th place. Keep an eye on Sebastian Bourdais. I don't care what car he's driving. These tracks suit Bourdais. 4 laps led. Started 16th, finished 5th. Good run from the Frenchman. How about the Dutchman? Rinus VeeKay led 1 lap and started 14th, finished 6th. 7th place was Graham Rahal, who started 18th. 8th place, starting 6th, finishing 8th, was the Ganassi driver from Sweden, Marcus Ericsson. 9th place, Alexander Rossi. A lot of people looked at Alexander Rossi as a possible favorite to win this race, as a lot of Rossi's best tracks were missing from the schedule last year. And how about Romain Grosjean? In his IndyCar Series debut, started 7th, finished 10th.
And the highest rookie also.
Highest rookie of the race right there.
Yeah.
Great run for Romain Grosjean, who made his first start in the States as an IndyCar driver. Now let's look at some other drivers who were in this race. 14th place, career best finish for Scott McLaughlin, who started 12th. Ed Jones, who finished 15th, made his first start since Laguna Seca of 2019. And 19th place, Jimmy Johnson, who made his NTT IndyCar Series debut after starting 21st, the 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, has learned some of the realities of open-wheel racing.
Yeah, which he actually did go a lap down when he spun early on. But the thing at Jimmy Johnson, he's just learning these Indy cars. He's only running these road courses and street courses. He's not running ovals. People are like, oh, Kanan should get out and put Jimmy in the ovals. But IndyCar on ovals are dangerous compared to NASCAR stock cars. So I respect that decision for this year for Jimmy Johnson running the road courses and street circuits. Because ovals are dangerous.
You never know. Maybe Chip would say, hey, like if Jimmy wants to, I'll open up another car. But
people are saying 2022 he's hinting for the Indy 500 in 2022. But 2021 he's just learned the cars.
Just stars, you gotta have
you
gotta get your feet wet.
Yeah, because Jimmy Johnson's only raced in the stock car. Open wheel car drives
Whole different story. You got a lot of G-forces, everything.
A lot more buttons than NASCAR.
Oh, for sure.
Paddle shifters instead of a
4-speed transmission.
And also road courses, you have the push to pass. In IndyCar, NASCAR, you don't have push to pass. No, NASCAR, you don't have that. So it's a new learning a new car. It takes time to learn with these new cars.
All right, so one race down, 16 more to go, and the next race will be round 2 next weekend, the St. Petersburg Grand Prix.
Yeah, on the 25th. So in 6 days from now, we actually get 3 races in a row because race 3 is on May 1st and 2nd at Texas. So we get 3 races in a row, back to back to back.
Actually, 4 if you make it. Yeah, this is an interesting stretch. The pre-Indy 500 month stretch has never been this sudden.
Yeah, but
due to the slight changes of the calendar.
Yeah, because literally right after Texas, they got an off week. Then they got the Indy GP. Then the Indy qualifying, Indy 500 qualifying. Then the Indy 500. So, which it's going to be interesting with all these races.
Right. So the first race is done. So obviously the drivers' championship will match the results that we just gave to you. Yep. After the first race. So they'll be back with the first street course race of the season at St. Petersburg in Florida.
And do you want to know what's an interesting statistic?
Go ahead, Justin. Let's hear it.
Joseph Newgarden actually got his worst finish with Team Penske. 23rd is his worst finish with Team Penske now. It was 20th before. 23rd is his worst career finish with Team Penske.
Interesting.
Yeah, I heard that. I'm like, what? But if he didn't crash, he could have won. Because he's just good at Barber. I thought he was going to really perform because Barber.
It's his place. He's the winningest driver there.
Yeah, but St. Petersburg's next, and he's also good there. So you might see Joseph Newgarden pull off a win. Well, who knows?
All right, so I think that's enough for IndyCar. We'll discuss the St. Petersburg Grand Prix later on in the podcast. Now let's move on to some racing in the land down under. The Australian Supercars Championship made their first trip to Tasmania for the first time since 2019. The Tasmania Supersprint, it was the third week of this 12-week campaign and rounds 6, 7, and 8 of the 31-race tour. And finally, we have seen the bubble burst in many ways. Let's start with race 1. So race 1, it was Shane Van Gisbergen. He went 6 for 6 in the Supercars Championship after leading 24 laps from the pole, picking up his 46th career win and his 123rd career podium. He went 6 for 6, all perfect in 2021. Also picked up his 34th career pole in the process. Second place was Jamie Whincup, who started 4th and picked up his 255th career podium. Third place was Anton De Pasquale, who finished on the podium for the 6th time in his career. Chaz Mostert 4th, Will Davison 5th. How about Cam Waters 6th? He's still searching for that first win. Mark Winterbottom 7th. Scott Pye led 5 laps to finish 8th. Will Brown and Brody Kostecki rounded out the top 10. Todd Hazelwood came home 14th after leading 2 laps. And Tim Slade led 1 lap after starting 21st. Andre Heimgartner led 4 laps during the pit stop cycles and started 23rd. He finished 22nd. So that was race 1. Now let's talk about race 2. This is where things change, Justin. Race 2. Jamie Whincup, 888 Race Engineering teammate of Shane Van Gisbergen, puts an end to his teammates' tear into the season. So no more perfect streak for Shane Van Gisbergen. Jamie Whincup led 16 laps, started 2nd, picked up his 123rd career win and his 256th career podium. Shane Van Gisbergen finished 2nd after leading 8 laps and starting 6th and picked up his 124th career podium. Third place was Will Davison. Now, Will Davison, who won twice before at Tasmania, picked up his 59th career podium after starting 5th. Cam Waters won the pole, led 12 laps from the lead after starting on pole, picked up his 5th career pole position. Cam Waters, 4th, Will Brown, 5th. Brown started 4th. Chaz Mostert, we're going to talk about in race 3, finished 6th after starting 10th. Frosty came home 7th. Mark Winterbottom started 7th as well. 8th place, David Reynolds after starting 13th. Scott Pye started and finished 9th. Andre Heimgartner 10th. Tim Slade led 1 lap, started 16th, finished 12th. Anton De Pasquale led 1 lap as well. Started 3rd, finished 13th, and finishing 15th, leading 4 laps, was Jake Kostecki. Race 3 was the end of another streak. No more perfect streak for 888 Race Engineering. The Red Bull Ampol Holden Racing team finally got stopped in race 3 as Chaz Mostert finally ended his long dry spell. Chaz Mostert led 27 laps, started 2nd, picked up his 61st career podium and his 14th career win. And as for Chaz, that was his first win with Walkinshaw Andretti United. And his first win since, you have to go all the way back to Melbourne race 3 of 2019, back when he drove for Tickford Racing in Ford. Yeah. It's been so long for Chaz, and finally gets the monkey off the back, winning race 3 and getting his maiden victory for Walkinshaw Andretti United, ending 888's 7 for 7 streak. However, Holden's streak continues, going for 8 in 2021. Second place, Anton De Pasquale picked up his 7th career podium after starting 3rd. And how about 3rd place? Congratulations to Will Davison. Career podium number 60 for Will Davison. 4th place, Cam Waters picked up his 6th career pole, started on point, finished 4th. 5th place, Jamie Whincup. Whincup started 6th, finished 5th. Gisbergen started 7th, finished 6th. How about Zane Goddard? Career best finish of 7th after starting 4th. Great run for Zane. 8th place, David Reynolds after starting 8th. He finished 8th. James Courtney, 9th. And running out the top 10, Nick Percat, who started 20th, finished 10 positions better. Fabian Coulthard led 16 laps. Started 13th, finished 13th. And 20th place, Macaulay Jones led 1 lap, started 24th. So that's race 3 from Tasmania, and I think we're starting to see some changes in the Supercars. Battle for the win and everything else.
Well,
it's still all Shane Van Gisbergen, though.
Yeah, Shane Shane knows how to win races still. He could lose 2 races, but he's going to still continue winning more.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Gisbergen is in the points lead with 865 points after 8 races. Jamie Whincup, SVG's teammate, is second with 726 points. Third place, Chaz Mostert with 700 points flat. Fourth place, Cameron Waters with 663 points. And fifth place, Will Davison with 623 points. Now in the team's championship, it is all Triple Eight Race Engineering, Red Bull, Holden, and Paul Racing team with 1,591 points. Dick Johnson Racing is second with 1,085 points. Third place, Walkinshaw Andretti United with 1,043 points, tied with Tickford Racing third and fourth. And fifth place is Team 18 with 990 points.
Huh.
So with that out of the way, we're going to really discuss what to expect in supercars in the future. These guys get 2 weeks off. They come back on the 8th and 9th of May for the Ben Supersprint. That's another batch of 3 races.
Oh,
Rounds 9, 10, and 11, week 4. Is there anything else to expect? I mean, yes, we know Shane Gisbergen's on a tear, but will we see the Fords catch up to the Holdens anytime soon?
I don't know, because it's like the Holdens have like it's like they have an advantage or something. It feels like they're doing better than what they were doing last year when Ford was dominating everything with Scott McLaughlin last year.
My
But
gosh.
I remember last year, I'm like, come on, is somebody else gonna win? This year Holden is showing that they have pace. But it's
This
impressive.
is Holden's last year, so I mean, whether you like Holden or not, you just have to enjoy the moment because this is going to be the end of an era for Australian motorsport. To see Holden dominate like this, it's just a beautiful sight, even without the factory support.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's it. Now let's move on to some endurance sports car racing. We had a lot of events that happened over the weekend in terms of endurance sports car racing, but we're going to start off with the next big step to make the 24 Hours of Le Mans and get ready for the big race is, of course, the European Le Mans Series, a 6-race tour in 2021. It began on Sunday for the 4 hours of Barcelona at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
Yep.
In beautiful Catalunya, Spain. So the ELMS season began. An interesting thing to note, the schedule had changed a little bit because of the date changed for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yep.
This was an interesting go-around for the start of the season.
Yep.
The overall winner for LMP and the LMP2 class winner was the number 41. How about this? Team WRT. You have to understand Team WRT here. By the way, the drivers that won for this race were Yefeye, Robert Kubica, and Louis Delatraz. A great driving lineup in the process. This team has been around for over 12 years, and they're based in Belgium, and they are loyal to Audi GT3 racing, and they have been around for such a long time. The W Racing team, also known as WRT, have found so much success in other forms of racing, like the 2018 Bathurst 12 Hour when they won overall.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a new era. They moved up to the prototypes. They continue to race with the GT3s, but now we get to see them in prototype. And they won on debut.
Yeah.
We're talking about a series that was dominated by United Autosports
Last year, yeah.
So congratulations to Dean WRT, Orca 07, and the drivers Louis Delatraz, Robert Kubica, and Yefeye for getting the win. Finishing second was the number 65 Pani Racing Orca 07, driven by Julian Canal, Will Stevens, and Gabriel Aubry.
Huh.
Team owned by Olivier Pani. Third place, number 22, United Autosports Orca 07 with Jonathan Aberdeen, Tom Gamble, and Philip Hansen. I had those guys winning. Fourth place, number 26, G Drive Racing Aurora 01 with 26 with drivers Franco Colapinto. By the way, he's really fast at qualifying. Just watch what he did in the H. Le Mans series. Roman Rustov and Nick DeVries. And fifth place, also claiming the Pro-Am honors for the first race of the year. Fifth place in class and overall, and first place in the Pro-Am trophy was the number 29 Ultimate Orca 07 with drivers Francois Hero, Jean-Baptiste, and Mathieu Leahy behind the wheel of that car. LMP3 hasn't changed in the offseason, unlike LMP2 having the Pro-Am honors for the first time around. Winning the LMP3 class was the number 19 Cool Racing. Swiss team Cool Racing Ligier JSP 320 with Nikolai Malini, Nicholas Cruton, and Matthew Bell behind the wheel of that car. Second place was the number 15 RLR M Sport Ligier JSP 320 with drivers Malte Jacobson, Alex Capadia, and Mike Benham behind the wheel of that car. Third place in class was the number 13 Inter-Europol competition, the Polish team showing up for most of the prototype races around the globe. Never disappoint with drivers Martin Hite, Uka de Wiel, and Julian Valchero. Fourth place, the number 18 One Aim Villabora Corsa, part of the AF Corsa umbrella with drivers Alessandro Bressan, Damiano Fiovaranti, and Andreas Las Caratos driving that car. And fifth place in class was the number 4 DKR Engineering Duquesne M30 D08 with Lawrence Haar and Elaine Berg. Just a 2-driver lineup for those guys. Now, let's talk some GT. LMGTE racing hasn't changed, but before we go into that, let's talk about one car that was part of the innovative car category with the win gone to the number 41 Association La Filière Frédéric Sasse by SRT41 Orca 07 LMP2 car with drivers Takuma Aoki, Nigel Bailey, and Pierre Sanigina driving that car. Now let's move back. Let's go back to the LMGTEs. This is the same kind of car that you see in the 24 Hours of Le Mans and in GTLM class in America, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Most of these cars are privateer owned, so you wouldn't be surprised at all if they appear in the LMGTE AM class at Le Mans later this year. Winning in LMGTE, it was been a Ferrari show, quite literally. First place was the number 80 Iron Lynx Ferrari 488 GTE Evo with drivers Matteo Cressoni, Miguel Molina, and Rino Mastornati behind the wheel of that car. Second place in class was the number 77 Proton Competition Porsche, the WeatherTech Racing entry that we've seen in the States with Jimmy Bruni, Jackson Evans, and Christian Reed behind the wheel of that car. Third place in class was the number 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari with drivers Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin, and David Perrell. Fourth place, the number 83 Iron Lynx Ferrari with drivers Raul Frey, Michelle Gattin, and Manuela Gostner. And fifth place was the number 60 Iron Lynx Ferrari 488 GTE Evo with Paolo Ruberti, Claudio Schiavone, and Giorgio Sernagiotto. All Italian lineup, so a lot of celebrating for sure in the Iron Lynx garage area yesterday. And by the way, that wasn't the only place where they found success this weekend. We'll get into that later in their next discussion. But I think the obvious really happened in the other classes, except for sure in the overall fight. What happened to United Autosports? I guess they weren't up to speed this time around.
No, I guess not. I thought they were going to have speed again because they'll bring speed. They'll have momentum from last year. I guess not.
Even if the drivers changed around, nope. Maybe it did affect some things. We'll have to keep tabs on them.
Yeah.
Next race for the European Le Mans Series will be on the 16th of May for the 4 hours of the Red Bull Ring. This should be a very interesting race. Round 2 of 6. We have not seen a major sports car series race at the Red Bull Ring, or formerly known as the A1 Ring, not since the 2001 FIA GT Championship season, when it was a 500-kilometer race. So nice to see the return of an event.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next sports car race that happened over the weekend, and it was the opening round of the 2021 SRO Group GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. The first round of 5 races of the GTWCE Europe Endurance Cup. The 3 hours of Monza wasn't a disappointment at all. In the end, winning this race overall was the number 54 Dynamic Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3R with drivers Christian Engelhardt, Klaus Bachler, and Matteo Caroli. So the Porsche factory lineup doing what they do best. Ended up winning the race. Second place overall and in class was the number 88 AKA ASP Mercedes AMG GT3 with drivers Daniel Huncadello, Rafael Marcelo, and Jules Gugnon. Third place in class, not overall, fourth overall. Third place in class was the number 71 Iron Lynx Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo 2020 edition with Callum Ilott, David Rigon, and Antonio Fielgo driving that vehicle. Fourth place, number 51 Iron Lynx Ferrari with Kame Ledogar, Nicholas Nielsen, and Alessandro Pierguidi. The Ferrari factory drivers doing really well in the first go-round for this kind of endurance racing. And fifth place in class was the number 26 Centilic Racing Audi R8 LMS Evo GT3 with Finlay Hutchinson, Marcus Winkelhock, and Fredrik Verovich. So the Audi factory drivers in that car. Let's move on to the silver class. Winning the silver class and finishing on the podium overall, third place was the number 14 Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo with an all-Swiss lineup for the Swiss team. Alex Fontana, Ricardo Feller, and Rolf Einkinen driving that car to victory. Second place in class was the number 30 Rofco Racing with Team WRT Audi. Audi R8 GT3 LMS Evo with Stuart Hall, James Pull, and Benjamin Gaute driving that car. Third place was number 57 Windward Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with Philip Ellis, Russell Ward, and Ricky Collard behind the wheel. Those guys won in class in the Daytona 24 Hours this year. Yeah. Fourth place, the number 31 Team WRT Audi Audi R8 LMS GT3 number 31 with Ryuko Tomita and Frank Bird. And fifth place in class was the number 87 AKA ASP Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with Konstantin and Terashenko, Thomas Drouet, and Simon Gachet with driving in that car. Now let's move on to the third and final class in this race. The Pro-Am category was won by Aston Martin, the number 188, Garage 59. Aston Martin. Vantage AMR GT3 with Johnny Adam, Chris Goodwin, and Alexander West behind the wheel of that car. The Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3 victorious in race 1. Second place in class was the number 19 Orange 1 FFF Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo with Phil Keen and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Third place in class was the number 77 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo with Miguel Ramos, Henrik Chavez, and Adrian Amstutz. Fourth place in that class was the number 2 Get Speed Performance Mercedes AMG GT3 with the Mercedes driving lineup. The factory drivers Nico Bastian, Oliver Grotz, and Florian Schulze. Fifth place in class. Last but not least, that we'll read off here is the number 20 SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with factory driver Dominic Bowman and Valentin Pierberg behind the wheel of that car. So one race down, and it was very interesting. We saw a lot of changes in the lead and throughout the race. It was a quick endurance race. I mean, to be fair, 3 hours isn't that long for an endurance race.
Yeah.
But we saw a lot of entries, and there's a lot of excitement for the next race going towards the future. And that race will be at the end of May on the 20th to 30th for the Circuit Paul Ricard 1,000-kilometer 6-hour race in France. Now, that race actually closed the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup last year due to the pandemic. They had to put the race all the way into mid-November in that big sports car weekend, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, so that race will be at the end of May for that series. Now, one more sports car race we're going to discuss here was the new season in the Nürburgring, which was, of course, the 2021 Nürburgring Landstrecken Series, also known as the Nürburgring Endurance Series. The NLS, formerly known as the VLN, made their appearance finally. This is race 2, even though it's race 1, but they consider it to be race 2.
But, yeah.
And it was held at the Nürburgring. Pretty much a good picture to see, going into the 24 hours of Nürburgring. As for more of which teams will be in the race, rather than the drivers that will show up. Usually we get some factory drivers here and there.
Oh.
And in the end, the factory drivers won this race. Because of all the classes, we're just going to talk about the top 5 overall finishers, which all happen to be in the SP9 class, as it's supposed to be. So luckily that was the case. Michael Christensen, Lars Kern, and Kevin Ostray drove the number 911 Manti Racing longtime team. Manti Racing Porsche 911 GT3R. That's a classic team with a classic, kind of driving lineup in the entries that showed up. They were class of the field, without a doubt, winning at Nürburgring. Second place overall was the number 31 Fricatelli Racing Team Porsche 911 GT3R with Fredrik Makovicky and Dennis Olsen behind the wheel of that car. So, the Porsche drivers continuing success here. First 2 steps of the podium. Now, third step of the podium, third and fourth. We're going to talk about this team here. Audi's in Phoenix Racing here. Phoenix Racing, number 11. Audi R8 LMS GT3 with Nicky Tim and Mikel Beretta. And fourth place, the number 5 Audi Sport Team Phoenix car, Vincent Kolb and Frank Stipler. So the Audi factory driver is doing well. Yeah, Nicky Tim is in an Audi for once. That's an interesting deal. And fifth place in Classic, another car that I expected to perform really well at this track, knowing how well they are, is KCMG, the team that's partially owned by Earl Bamber with a Porsche 911 GT3R. The drivers that drove that car this time around was Marco Holzer and Eduardo Liberati. So this is really for proving grounds, to get used to the Nürburgring circuit in time for the Nürburgring 24 hours. I think we had about 127 cars that started the race overall. I'm not going to go through the other classes. It's too many.
My pick did not do good. I picked the number 2 entry. I picked that 2 car.
All right, so the next time they have a race will be on the 1st of May, so 2 weeks later. Another 4-hour race at Nürburgring for NLS 3. This time it will be sponsored by the ADAC, the sanctioning body of the 24 hours of Nürburgring. So that out of the way, let's move on to some of the other races that happened in this past weekend. Let's discuss some two-wheel racing, shall we? The AMA Supercross Championship is coming down to the wire here with the Atlanta Motor Speedway round 2 and race 2 and race 3 for rounds 14 and 15 of the 17 race tour. In race 2 on Tuesday, Ken Roczen brought his Honda to the top 7 of the podium, finishing above Chase Sexton. So Honda 1 and 2. Third place, Jason Anderson, Husqvarna. Fourth place was the gas rider of Justin Barcia, and then Kawasaki's Eli Tomac, who is slowly but surely losing hope in this championship fight mathematically is, he's losing the trophy from defending it another year. Race 3 on Saturday night almost looked like Ken Roczen had it, but in the end it was Cooper Webb's KTM, the points leader. A statement-making win for Cooper Webb, while Honda's Ken Roczen finished second. Eli Tomac third in the Kawasaki. Yamaha's Aaron Plessinger fourth, and Justin Barcia fifth in the Gas. So points after 14 races, with 2 races left. Cooper Webb, 339 points. Ken Roczen, 323 points. Eli Tomac, 299 points. It's almost over for Tomac. He would need a catastrophe for the top 2 in order to win the title again. They'll be back 2 races at Utah in Salt Lake City. Race 1 this weekend, race 2 next weekend, and we'll get a champion for 2021. Next, in two-wheel racing, let's talk about the MotoGP Portuguese Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo, the French rider, picks up another win in 2021 by starting on pole and leading the entire race, winning and finishing above Francesco Bagnaia, and third place Joan Mir, Franco Morbidelli fourth, and Brad Binder fifth. Not Renee Binder. Renee Binder's an open wheel driver. Brad Binder.
I was about to say Renee Binder. I'm like, wrong driver.
I stopped myself, Justin.
I remember. Yeah.
Standings after 3 races in this 19-race World Championship. Fabio Quartararo has 61 points to his advantage. Bagnaia is second, 46 points. Vignal is third, 41 points, 1 point back. Johan Zarco, 40 points. And Joan Mir with 38 points, trying to catch up and defend his championship. The constructor standings after 3 races, Yamaha has the lead, 75 points over Ducati second with 60 points. Third place Suzuki, 42 points. How about Aprilia? Aprilia fourth. KTM is fifth and Honda sixth. Interesting. And the team standings, Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP is in the championship lead in the team standings by a big margin, over 43 points. 102 points, and then second with 61 points, Team Suzuki X-Star. Ducati Lenovo team is third with 60 points. Pramac Racing with 57 points. Fourth, Aprilia Racing Team Grassini, 27 points, tied with the Repsol Honda team as well. So they get a week off. They come back on May 2nd for the Spanish Grand Prix, the Grand Prix España, for race 4 of 19. So interesting battles. MotoGP is very exciting, but expect to see Marc Marquez make a return again. And once he does, then we'll see where everything goes from there.
Well, he still has to get used to his bike again. Without racing on a bike for a while, you got to get used to it again.
Absolutely. All right, so that's all for the race recaps, and we spent an hour and a half just happened. Shows you how much racing was going on.
Well, do you want to know what's kind of bad? I just figured out that's happening this weekend.
Yeah.
There's a miscellaneous event that I just remembered that Super Formula is racing round 2 at Suzuka this weekend. But Tatiana Calderon most likely won't get points in that race.
I'm only watching because Tatiana Calderon's in it.
Well, I saw in the entry list Matsushita's running.
I want to see him do well again. He kind of deserved to be in Formula 2.
Yeah, I remember he won for the MP Motorsports car at Barcelona. Way better than what Mahavir Raghunathan did.
Yeah, I was about to say, what about Mahavir Raghunathan? We need Mahavir Raghunathan. We need that entertainment back.
Well, but yeah, NASCAR running at Talladega. ARCA's back at Talladega. It's going to be an interesting weekend.
Yes, you have NASCAR. The Xfinity Series is back. We have Formula E coming back. At the 24H Series. It should be an interesting weekend, but we'll get started with NASCAR in just a moment. All right, so Talladega is here for race 10 of the 36 race tour. This track has been controversial from the start, but we'll break it down for you right now. The Geico 500 this weekend. First race, actually last year's winners were Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin. 1969 first race was won by an only time winner, Richard Brickhouse. And if that race wasn't controversial enough, I don't know what is. But it shows you who wins these races at Talladega. It really could be anybody. Who has the most wins at Talladega? Got to be good here. That's for sure. Dale Earnhardt, 10 times. He's won at Talladega. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon are tied for second on that list with 6 wins. Then next on the list, Brad Keselowski, the winningest active driver. 5 times he's gone to victory lane at Talladega. Bobby Allison, Buddy Baker, and Darrell Waltrip share 4 wins at Talladega Superspeedway. Davey Allison, Joey Logano, David Pearson, Cale Yarborough have won their 3 times at Talladega Superspeedway. And here are the drivers that have won twice, and this list is huge. Donnie Allison, Ryan Blaney, Clint Boyer, Bill Elliott, Pete Hamilton, Denny Hamlin, Ernie Irvin, Dale Jarrett, Jimmy Johnson, Terry Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Mark Martin, Jamie McMurray, and Richard Petty have won there twice. Now let's break it down into the spring race now. Which teams have done well in the spring race at Talladega? Hendrick Motorsports. 8 times they've gotten to victory lane. 4 times Wood Brothers Racing have won there in the spring, as had Rainier Lundy and Richard Childress Racing. Teams that have won here 3 times include Bud Moore Engineering, Joe Gibbs Racing, Roush Fenway Racing, and 2 wins for teams in the spring race at Talladega: Penny Enterprises, Junior Johnson and Associates, Leo Jackson Racing, Robert Yates Racing, Morgan McClure Motorsports, and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. As for manufacturers in the spring at Talladega, Chevrolet wins this bout. 20 times they've won, 14 times has a Ford won. Mercury and Oldsmobile no longer in the sport, no longer in business. 4 times they've won each. Buick 3 wins, Pontiac and Toyota share 2 wins, and Dodge 1 win. So they're the numbers. Now we go to 2021, present day in the Cup Series. What are the expectations going into Talladega?
Well, we expect to have some intense racing, especially at the end of the stages. And at the end of the race, we might see big ones.
We might see a lot of aggressive driving, too.
But, oh my gosh, some of these stats are interesting at Talladega. Do you want to know what's an interesting stat that I just saw?
Go ahead.
Kyle Busch has a worse average finish at Talladega than Quinn Houff.
And Kyle Busch is a winner at Talladega.
Quinn Houff's average finish is 20. Kyle Busch is 20.87. It's like, huh? Like, the worst, like, decent driver.
You just mentioned Quinn Houff. You never know what small teams come prepared for Talladega and have better equipment than they're expected.
Don't know what's kind of bad. Like, a decent driver that has the worst average finish, like, that's run many races at Talladega. Michael McDowell. His average finish is 29.4. And
to think that even if Michael McDowell doesn't win the Daytona 500 this year, he'd still be fighting just as hard for winning Talladega. And that explains my next point. These small teams, these teams that usually aren't in the top 5, top 10, know this is their opportunity to get a win and make it to the playoffs. You're going to push hard here. And also the fact that this track comes back in the fall when the championship really matters. Now we're talking, like, this is a lot of note-taking. Everybody's got a lot of things on their mind going into this track, as does every year.
Well, I got my pick. This is my pick for Talladega. This driver, he has 0 wins in his career. He has 2 starts here. Both last year in the spring and the fall. An average finish of 13.5. His teammate has 3 career wins. He's driver of the number 8. Tyler Reddick is gonna win at Talladega.
He has an Xfinity win there. That's a good sign.
Yep.
But here's where I'm going. This driver has never won in the Cup Series, but he's been around for almost half a decade in some capacity or not. He's driving for a new team that has definitely exceeded the expectations when we had the Daytona 500. Unfortunately, his results didn't really match the performance he had out there. This driver had a very good chance of winning last year in his old team. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. This driver really has a lot at stake. Last year, he was in the news for some of the darkest reasons, but that's all behind in the past. We move on now. He has a new team. He's part of this new team. They're in a Toyota. Bubba Wallace will take the win at Talladega. I'm calling it right now. First career win. First win for 2311 Racing. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I was confused of who you were talking. I'm like, who is he? I was so confused.
I know. I played it really good in the build-up. All right. So that's out of the way now. I think we can make it clear that anybody could win this race. So let's say Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace doesn't win. Who wins? Well, throw in Brad Keselowski, throw in Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
How about successful drivers? Chase Elliott's won there before. He's really irking for that first win in 2021. We got a lot on the line here.
Yeah, but those other drivers. Do I know who has the best average finish at Talladega recently?
Go ahead.
Ryan Preece, average finish of 11th in 4 starts. He had
the top 5 in 2019, hadn't he?
Yeah, he finished 3rd behind Bowman and Chase Elliott. So Brian Preece, he's gonna be up there in that 37 car for GTG Darty Racing.
What about Ricky Stenhouse Jr.? Nearly won the race. He was so close. He was just a hairline away from victory.
Oh yeah, like Ryan Newman, the 6 car.
Ryan Newman almost won twice in the last 4 years. 2017 and 2019, he was leading on the final lap, but so close.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting at Talladega.
Absolutely. The door's wide open.
Hopefully no weather. Hopefully.
Yeah, but you haven't had a good past record with weather in the last 2 years at Talladega.
Well, but the thing with Talladega, we know that it's not going to switch networks. Like last year in the Chase when they switched from NBC to NBCSN last year.
Yeah, the Combinate Sunday Football pregame talk show.
But Fox keeps it on.
Wouldn't let that happen.
No, remember how Fox remember even races that could put to Monday, like the Bristol Dirt Race, stayed on Fox.
Exactly.
That's why they're better with rain delay coverage than NBC. Just saying. So it's
nice to see the fans have been allowed there since the start of even the spring race last year. So now think how many people are going to show up. It's going to be a good weekend. Let's move on to the kart event on Saturday. The NASCAR Xfinity Series is back for the second and final time in April with the Talladega 300 for round 8 of their 33-race tour. Last year, Justin Haley picked up both wins at Talladega in the spring and in the fall. Now, this series is a more brief history of Talladega, and it shows you how competitive this race really is and how unlikely the statistics are to win at Talladega. The first race was won by Ernie Irvan in 1992, but the winningest driver here has only 3 wins. Martin Truex Jr. did the unthinkable from 2004 to 2006, win 3 in a row at Talladega. Winning at Talladega is hard enough. Winning 3 in a row, you're on a different planet. He leads the wins column as a result. Joe Nemechek, Joey Logano, Elliott Sadler, and Justin Haley have 2 wins. And we'll talk about Justin Haley in a minute because I want to talk about team wins. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated have been out since 2008. 5 wins. Also, Joe Gibbs Racing, an active team. 5 wins as well. Joe Gibbs Racing has a chance to shatter DEI's record. Or surpass it, should I say. Nemco Motorsports, Team Penske, Junior Motorsports, and Colleague Racing have 2 wins apiece. Now, for manufacturers at Talladega, Chevrolet 18 wins, Ford 6 wins, Toyota 4 wins, Pontiac and Dodge, the 2 manufacturers on this list, not in the sport anymore, with 1 win apiece. Now, let's talk about why the winningest driver here has 3 wins. And then we'll talk about Justin Haley. Let me throw in some names that won at Talladega. Greg Sachs, Chad Little, Mike McLaughlin, Jason Keller. Yeah, Jason Keller was very good in the Busch Series back then. '02. I mean, hell, if you stayed out of the big one that year, you probably would have won the race anyway. Bobby Labonte picked up his final NASCAR Busch Series win in 2007 at Talladega. David Reagan pulled the upset in 2009. Brad Keselowski's first win with Team Penske was in 2010. Spencer Gallagher.
Oh my God.
2018. And we're not going to talk about what he did after because sobriety has nothing to do with Talladega unless you choose to spend the weekend in the infield. And that's a different story. But I want to mention Justin Haley for a second. Justin Haley is looking to do something that hasn't been done since 2006. Win 3 consecutive Talladega 300s. What are the odds of Justin Haley repeating history?
He has a chance, but it's going to be kind of hard. Because, Talladega, I know with this package, most of the time they're single file and fans
It's
get
kind of easier to hold your position
but
with the Xfinity package.
Yeah, but the thing is, it depends where you start also. Because you could get caught up in a crash, like end of the stages, like, remember Brandon Jones's crash that nobody expected? Some issue like that, or
correct.
Or one situation that hopefully doesn't happen again is the LePage. No, Kevin LePage is not in the field, so hopefully nobody else does that. Natalie Decker,
obviously you get penalized for going up the apron too soon anyway.
Well, do you know what I said? Natalie Decker, please don't do that. Please, not just.
All right.
It's going to be hard.
Thanks for talking about drivers. Now let's go ahead and make our predictions.
Okay, my pick, this driver, he has 1 career win in the series, which was back almost 7 years ago in 2014. This driver, he has 0 wins at this track, but he has 1 top 10 and 4 top 20s and 34 laps led. Driver of the number 54, Ty Dillon, is going to get career win number 2. And this time he won't wreck at a plate track. This time he'll actually finish the race.
Yep, that has been a struggle for Ty Dillon this season. My pick to win this race.
Oh, jeez.
I wanted to go with an underdog, but I want to see history repeat itself. Justin Haley will become the winningest driver at Talladega Superspeedway and doing what hasn't been done since Martin Truex Jr. 2004 to 2006, win 3 in a row. He is just so strong in these kinds of tracks. So I have high hopes for Justin Haley winning at Talladega.
Okay.
All right, that's out of the picture. Let's move on to some open wheel racing. For some IndyCar, the NTT IndyCar Series Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is this weekend. And let's talk about some of the history of this event here. So the St. Pete Grand Prix began in 2003. The race was won by Paul Tracy in the 2003 Champ Car World Series. Forsyth Racing and Ford Cosworth. In terms of team wins, who is our driver wins? Last year, the winner was Joseph Newgarden. Who has the most wins? Elio Castroneves. 3 times he's gone to victory lane at the St. Pete Grand Prix, 2006, 2007, as it was the Indy Racing League event, and then 2012 as it's the current IndyCar Series. He picked up his 3rd win. Now, who has 2 wins? These drivers have 2 wins, and 3 of them are actually 3 of them, yes, correctly, 3 of them are going to be in the race looking to tie Elio's record. Sebastian Bourdais, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Joseph Newgarden. Or Will Power and Joseph Newgarden. Montoya is not going to be in the race, but those are the drivers who have won twice. Now, team wins, best to drive a Penske machine. They have won 10 times, more than any other team. The only team that have won more than once, besides Team Penske, Dale Coyne Racing, and Andretti Autosport. Manufacturers have won. Best to drive a Honda, even though Team Penske's in a Chevrolet. They've won 9 times. Chevy's won 7 times. Ford Cosworth won the first race in 2003. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and present day IndyCar and talk about who might just be the favorites to win the St. Pete GP.
Okay.
Justin, I'll start with you.
Okay, my pick is actually an underdog. Kind of an underdog. The driver's not an underdog, but the team is.
Oh, let's hear it.
This team, they haven't won in a while. I don't know what year they haven't won since, but they have a good amount of championships. It's a legendary team. the driver has 2
I know where
wins.
you're going. Thank you for telling me.
This driver has 2 wins. Driver of the number 14, Sebastian Bourdais, is gonna win his third race. His third race. The third time he's gonna win 3 at the track at St. Pete. So yeah, Bourdais is gonna get his third win at St. Pete.
I had Bourdais as my prediction. Thanks for stealing it, Justin. Okay,
Well,
if it ain't Sebastian Bourdais, by the way, he could get if he wants a 5th title, this could be a great way to start.
But another pick like that, I would keep my eye on Joseph Newgarden.
What about Will Power?
Yeah, these two, like Penske. Penske's looking to get a win this season.
I'm gonna go with Sebastian Bourdais in the end. I feel like he's just for some reason outperforming his own equipment. That's a good sign for the future. All right. We do want to make our predictions for Formula E and then the 24H series before we close this podcast. I know it's been a pretty long one tonight, but we have a lot of material. Let's start with the 2020-2021 Formula E ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, Valencia E-Prix, and yes, they are racing at a closed circuit for the first time this year with the Valencia E-Prix at Circuit Ricardo Tormo.
Oh, the truck. Oh, the race they should have been instead of that street circuit they went to F1. They should have went to the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. They should have went there in F1. And nobody wanted that street circuit.
Well, they have 2 races, so that's rounds 5 and 6. It's currently a 10-race tour. Let's talk about the fact that this is a new race and that we're racing on a closed circuit, so it's not as narrow as a street circuit. You have more passing opportunities. But in terms of the championship, and if you're Sam Bird, you might want to have to guard yourself here. Who's going to win this weekend? I will leave it to you, Justin.
I have, because there's 2 races this weekend. For race 1, I have Antonio Felix Acosta, last year's champion, winning race 1. I feel like he's going to have a decent amount of pace. Race 2, Nick DeVries in his Mercedes. Yeah, I feel like he'll have speed to climb back up in the points to try to battle with a Sam Bird.
Yes. Well, race 1, I have Jean-Eric Vergne.
Okay.
Race 2, Stoffel Vandoorne.
Oh my gosh, we literally just picked the teammate. I picked DaCosta race 1. You picked Vergne, then I picked DeVries, and you picked Vandoorne for race 2. So basically, we just picked the same team. But
and Mercedes EQ Formula E team.
Yeah,
That's how it is.
Yeah.
All right, now let's move on to our next subject, the Creventic 24H series. 12 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard. This Saturday will be round 3 of an 8-race tour. The last time they ran was in March for the 12 hours of Mugello. By the way, this race, unlike Mugello, will be a sole 12-hour race.
Yeah.
Not a 2-part event.
Yep.
Where they have a window for everybody to sleep at the same time and then just wake up and finish the next half of the race.
Yeah.
This is a full 12-hour race. It actually starts at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Oh, that's gonna be annoying.
Yeah, and then it goes to the end.
Oh.
But yeah, the entry lists usually fluctuate with the 24H series.
Yeah.
We certainly see more entries in this case, but we'll make our predictions.
Okay.
As such, we'll start with the GT3 class. The category, I guess it's just GT3, so no Pro or AM divisions in this one.
Yeah.
For the way it looks.
I have my pick already. My pick is the number 91 Herbert Motorsports Porsche 911 GT3R, driven by Daniel Allman, Ralph Bond, Alfred Renauer, and Robert Renauer.
Those guys have been strong. in the Asian Le Mans series. They won the title, and they won the last race, the 12 Hours of Magellan, for the second year in a row. So I think that's a great pick, but you know, you have to work a little bit harder when you want to beat the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going with this next pick here, and I think this prediction might be a little bit bold, but I'm gonna go with the number 18 Ronick Racing by TECE Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo with Michael Doppelmayr, Pierre Caffer, Ella Earhart, and Sven Herberger driving that car. So maybe new chemistry could make the difference in this race. We don't know. Let's move on to the next class. The GTX category has a handful in this race. So for this one, for the GTX class honors, I'm going to go with the Vortex V8. I love this customized manufacturer here. The Vortex V8 with number 701 car, the Vortex 1.0, driven by Olivier Gomez, Bastien Gouret, and Philippe Girard, driving that car. All French lineup for the French team.
Okay, my pick is the number 724 Ryder Engineering entry, driven by Ike Angermeyer, Nikolai Elgahanyan, Horst Feldby Meyer Jr., and Mads Saljihug.
The driver KTM Crossbow GTX. Now, that car did win in class. I think it was Magellan they won with the Ryder Engineering car. So that should be interesting. Now, let's talk about the next category. The 991 class car.
Only three.
Yeah, only three. One make Porsche 991 Cup cars. So it's a one make category. Everybody's in the same car. I think I'm going to go with the number 978 Speed Lover Porsche, driven by Olivier Dons, Dominique Bastien, and Eric Muniz.
Okay, my pick is the number 909 Duo Racing entry, driven by Andrei Mukovoz, Stanislav Sidoruk, and Sergei Perigudov.
All right, so Luxembourg team with Russian drivers.
Only two GT4s? Oh my!
Yeah, that's surprising. I mean, usually you see GT4s out there. They're very accessible, but I guess there's only two once again. So either you get the 401 Pro Sport Racing German team with all Belgian lineup: Nico Verdonk, Rodrigue Gillian, and Kurt Henson. The Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4 number 401, or the number 438 ST Racing Samantha 10. Chandler Holt and John Miller, and the BMW M4 GT4. So who is it, Aston or BMW, Justin?
I have BMW number 438. They're just fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, I have the 438.
I think I'm going with them as well. Had it not been for their mechanic problem at Magellan, they probably would have won for the second race in a row. So that's it for the GTE division. Oh, one more question. The overall winner will be the GT3 Cup or the 991 Cup, even though it's very rare. 991 Cup won last year at the 16 hours of Hockenheim ring.
Yeah, but GT3.
That's how it is. All right. TCE category. We'll talk about the TCR class first and foremost. Who will win in TCR? I already know who's going to take this victory, but I'll leave it
I have the number 112. Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing, driven by Fabian Dons, Marlon Menden, Riz Lloyd, and Yannick Mettler.
So Justin has the Volkswagen Golf, number 112. I'm going to go with the car that won last time around, and that was number 101, Red Camel Jordan's NL, Seat Cupra TCR DSG with the old Breukers family in there. Even Breukers, Rick Breukers, father and son. How about Luke Breukers? He's in the team as well. An interesting go-around for sure. The TCX class.
Two cars. The
two cars for sure. I don't think Conway's the driver in that car.
That would be not good. Just him in a 12-hour race.
I think they have to update
Yeah.
that list.
For
But
me,
it's either Nordschleifer Racing Ligier, that's a custom car, JS2R.
Janetta G55. I'm going with the number 226. Nordschleifer Racing, driven by Guillaume Roman, Daniel Wasinski, and Terry Shkondali. Sorry, I can't pronounce some names because some names are harder to pronounce than others.
I think if you have more drivers, especially in this class with two cars, you're just going to go with the 226. Now, CWS Engineering, they usually supply more Janettas than usual.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get to see Colin White have some co-drivers to help him out, but
because
he could win.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to do a 12-hour race by yourself. It's not like
I don't think it's allowed either.
It's like it's like that one time in Le Mans in Le Mans you didn't need a
that was overall. You could do whatever you want with drive time.
Yeah, but father-son combination. The father ran 23 hours 15 minutes. His son drove 2 laps in the middle of the race. Oh my gosh! It's better than 1953. Where there was there was the eventual winners before the race were kicked out, but brought back in because they thought they brought out a spare car with the same number that wasn't allowed, and it was so weird.
Pre-internet times.
Yeah,
that's something else. Well, I think that's a good wrap up for this podcast, and we covered a lot. 2 hours, 2 hours, 1 minute. That's not bad, but. And certainly, I got to worry about my school stuff. I have finals this week.
And your computer didn't do like last week, where your computer was starting to freeze.
At least the cooperation really kicked in for my computer. So I have to thank my computer for not doing anything stupid tonight.
Yeah.
All right. I guess this is the end of the podcast for Daniel Ford, Justin Hebert.
Yep.
I'm Joe Pallon signing off. See you next week. Have a good one.
Yep.